Hello everyone, welcome to Telling Tales. We make atmospheric tabletop role-playing actual plays and stream them for you here on Twitch. Although maybe you're watching on YouTube, who knows? I don't. I'm not some kind of soothsayer. Oh, the pressure. So, as usual, before we begin, I'm going to introduce our stream manager, Steve, who's going to say hi. Steve is always tinkering behind the scenes, flashing up pictures and moving around cams and moderating chat and stuff like that. So yeah, just so you know what's going on in case he randomly comes in and you think, oh no, someone's gone on the wrong Zoom call.
It happens.
It does happen. So, thank you, Steve. And I've got a bit of promo to do now before we begin. So there's a bunch of links down below. There's links to our Twitch and our YouTube. You're watching on one, why not check out the other? There's links to our social media. There's links to our Discord if you want to join us and talk about all things Telling Tales, all things role-playing. And there's links to our Patreon if you feel like supporting us in return for some lovely treats. Yes. 3 weekly ongoing live streams, Monday through to Wednesday at 8 o'clock BST each of those evenings. Mondays is Call of Cthulhu. Tuesdays is Vampire, which you're watching right now, although I'll add an addendum to that, which is this is the final episode of our current arc of Vampire, and then we're going to take a break next week, and then the week after that we'll be picking up with an entirely new system. What system? Well, you'll just have to hang around till after the session when I'm going to tell you. Ha! That's got you. Now you are under a verbal contract and have to stay all the way through. Tomorrow, Wednesdays, is Simba Room, and that's a finale as well, so why not check that one out? We also have another fortnightly stream at the moment, which isn't hosted here. It's actually hosted on the Free League Publishing Twitch. We are working alongside them and producing a fortnightly series of their game Simba Room, which obviously, as I've already said, we run weekly. So we're really bloody good at it. The second episode of that is on this Sunday at 3 o'clock BST in the afternoon. And yeah, the first session was really good. You can check out the VOD for that on our channel, on our YouTube channel, and come watch the second episode as we play it on Free League Publishing this Sunday. We also run monthly one-shots on the first Saturday of every month. The VODs for all of those from this year are over on our YouTube. We got Alien, we got Troika, we got Merkborg, we got Fiasco, and our next one, which is on the first Saturday of June, which is the 5th, is going to be run by Chris, and that's The Expanse. So good fun there. I think that's all the promo stuff. So let's start bringing on the players and recapping last week, shall we? Our penultimate episode of this arc. And first, we are going to bring on Pierre. Pierre plays Oscar Kane, our resident Tremere. I nearly said anthropologist, but no, antiquarian.
Study all things.
Valuer of rare books. Kind of slightly comedy fan favorite, and also ravenous, power-hungry maniac. So yeah, how did last week start out, Pierre?
Well, it began with us starting to attempt to broker a deal with the King of Shadows, who was surrounded by his court of terrifying shadowy creatures that may or may not have been real. It's hard to know. Anyway, we were trying to negotiate for our entire mission to have access to the underground, which just the whole underground network that he seemed to preside over, and we succeeded? ? He wanted in the event that the Camarilla sort of rose once more in London, he wanted to be prince of all of the underground area, and without any sort of approval of our superiors, we said that, yeah, sure, he can have that.
It seems like the kind of thing that won't come back to bite you at all.
I can't imagine it biting us. How could it bite us in a game like Vampire? And in addition, because I think we gave him such sweet deals, I attempted to bargain that if he were to become prince, he would give us some extra consideration. we'll see how that pans out.
Thus taking you a step closer towards your ambition of becoming a leader among vampires.
Yes, we'll see. But as he was sort of leaving or fading into the shadows or disappearing, his like shadow beasts kind of were sort of muttering amongst themselves. And one thing that we caught was that they warned us about a greater threat in the north.
Yeah, I believe it was the phrase they used, look to the north, or beware the north, something like that.
Yeah.
Which has been mentioned before in one form or another. Specifically, I think the two things I can remember, and this will be a great segue for bringing on our next player. One of them is when you met the remnants of a Sabbat pack who said they'd fled from the north.
Yeah.
Another one was Johnny Gallagher and his annex, who'd also seemingly fled from the north. And also, the next player coming on, Neill, and his character, Alex Taylor Brown, our resident Malkavian soothsayer. Alex has definitely had a few little visions portending some kind of happening to the north.
Definitely not. Nothing like that. No rising sun or torrents of blood. Nothing like that. Instead, Alex's recollections of last session were far more sanguine and calm. Sanguine of a different nature. After this marvelous event, we met with Brazil and Brazil's coterie in a park near our target of a Second Inquisition building to infiltrate. Nothing of note happened, really. It was a normal meeting in a park. He just distributed some large handguns, and Tremere carried out a ritual with speaking in Enochian and doing something with a mirror, and Oscar's sire ignored him. Just normal stuff, really normal stuff.
It's the regular, regular Wednesday night.
Normal, yeah. Just normal. We then were to climb the roof and infiltrate via an air conditioning unit, whilst the others were apparently just going to go straight through the wall.
Yes, the Tremere in Brazil's coterie, Ignatius, carrying out a ritual to apparently allow him to pass through solid matter. But you had no such thing, and as you say, this air conditioning unit provided a nice method of egress. And to talk about that is our resident expert on egress. Ingress, you are right. Whatever. It's Justin. Justin plays Mandrill, our resident ingresser.
I can't believe.
And also egresser, to be fair.
I can't believe that my opportunity to correct you on ingress and egress was taken away from me. Absolutely disappointing. So Mandrill did the old breaking in thing where they used a knife to jimmy open the air vents and sneak on in. They broke on into the office complex that was there, and the group made their way down through the building towards the other group of kindred who had broken into the ground floor. We passed lots of empty offices that looked like they'd been cleaned up proper in a hurry. Who knows? Maybe they were expecting us. Maybe not.
Maybe. That is certainly one perspective. What they certainly were is very empty and clean.
Empty and clean.
Or empty of, not with a lot of clutter.
Not with a lot of clutter. So yeah, we head on down and arrived in the foyer where we found some guards who had been apprehended, and a guard's room that had been kind of broken into, and strange Germanic writing written on the wall. Germanic writing, just German, really.
Yeah, just German.
Just German.
German.
That is Germanic.
I think you can say that German is Germanic. I think that there's no
something about clouds, something like that. And then we all decided to get in the lift and head down to the basement.
Absolutely. What could possibly go wrong? To tell us what possibly went wrong, here is John, our final player, who plays Arthur Norris, our resident Ventru pharmacologist. Hi, John.
Hi. Well, nothing went wrong immediately, which was good. We broke into a few doors, found some documents, some tasty evidence that linked this place to Operation Antigen, and seemed to point towards various kindred holdings around the city. So that was great. And then Brazil, who had come down into the basement with us, was like, no, there's nothing down here. Why don't you folks go around to the corner?
These guys.
well, I stay here and watch the elevator. So we did, and we came across an office full of people quite hurriedly trying to get out of there, but not overly behind bulletproof glass and a sealed door. Not too concerned with us. And then the elevator went off, and we turned around, and there was a corridor with a right-hand turn. And then we went down it, and there was a corridor with a right-hand turn, and the dimensions just kept sort of warping. And then Isidore Gesang was there, and it all went a little bit strange.
Yes, Isidore Gesang, the special advisor to the Second Inquisition in London, Operation Antigen, who you have briefly bumped into twice before, and both times sent the coterie fleeing fairly concertedly.
And we did try that this time, but unfortunately, because of the weird dimension warping of the corridor, there were somehow two of them, or two corridors, and he was at the end of both of them. And we're not really sure what was going on.
No, he seemed to be under some kind of strain. He had actually, maybe no one made that roll. I'm not sure anyone made that roll.
Someone noticed a trickle of blood.
Well, that he had a nosebleed. Okay, then someone did make the roll.
Particularly after valiant attempts, Arthur and Alex tried to various tricks to get out of there.
Alex tried to use some chemistry to create an audio illusion in Gesang's earpiece, which he seemed to briefly kind of pay attention to and then brush away. I believe there was also some dominate attempted and stuff like that. It seemed to kind of not work correctly on him, and then after a kind of indeterminate amount of time had passed, some Second Inquisition agents came through the elevator doors behind him, and you all fell asleep. And you fell asleep because you could feel the sun rising outside, which would seem to be impossible, because that would mean you'd been trapped in the corridor with Isidore Gesang for hours, and surely that couldn't be the case.
Of course not.
So we will pick up not where we left off, but instead an indeterminate amount of time later. Speaking of the good old indeterminate amounts of time. And I am going to... I was going to do it randomly, but you know what? Our resident V5 lawmaster, Neill, obviously in previous editions, how quick you wake up, whether it be from slumber or any number of things, depended on your humanity level. Is there a similar mechanism to that in V5?
There is, but only in the sense that humanity 8 and above rises earlier. Everyone else basically rises at the same time.
About the same. Does anyone have humanity 8 or higher?
No.
No. I do not believe so.
If you did, you don't anymore. So, fair enough. I will simply use a wonderful random number generator there then. And that leaves us first with Justin. Justin, Mandrel is in somewhere quite cool and with very still air. She is very slowly coming to awareness with the sense, and it takes a while for memories to start flooding back of the last thing you encountered, confusing memories. You have a couple of very strong feelings that kind of gradually work their way into your consciousness. One, you are hungry. Set yourself at hunger 4, please.
I was just about to ask about that.
The other is you have... Vampires don't exactly feel pain in the same way mortals do. They are aware of it, but not necessarily hampered over much by it, maybe apart from the rays of the sun and the like. But you have a rather painful, intense sensation square in your chest.
God damn it.
You can, however, move.
Great. Can I sit up?
Mm-hmm. Slowly and painfully, yes.
Fantastic. Can I look down at my chest? Can I see anything that might be causing this intense pain?
Yeah, you can see a gaping goddamn hole in your chest.
Cool. Cool.
Are you going to start to try and take in your surroundings, or do you feel that you're quite still groggy and focused on this gaping wound in your chest?
Do you
want me to come back to you? I can come back to you.
I think I'm still coming to.
Sure, that's fine. Pierre, you just heard my description from Mandrill. It's exactly the same for Oscar Kane.
Right. I look down in the same way.
You have very, very evenly formed hole punched through your chest.
How big? Like,
let's say like a pipe, right? Like a house pipe, or like a water pipe, something like that.
It's a good inch.
Yeah. And you know what? You're an academic man. Why don't you give me a roll of you know what? I'm actually going to say composure rather than anything mental, because you're not exactly in an overly rational state right now. I'd imagine.
Yeah, I'm pretty freaked out.
And you can add medicine to that.
Okay, I have
the difficulty's 3.
I cannot succeed this roll unless I get a critical. But
blood surge.
Oh, you're also on hunger 4.
Blood surge.
Oh, I'm on hunger 4. Can I? I guess I'll just roll it. I don't think blood surge can work, or can it?
I mean, I wouldn't blood surge while you're on hunger 4.
Yeah, I mean, okay. So sorry, the difficulty's 3.
You can do it if you want.
With 1 success. So, but not a weird failure.
But no ones. Yeah. No ones.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm just going...
Nothing immediately occurs to you about this circumstance.
I look around. Do I see anyone else?
You are in what appears to be a thick, hardened, and dark glass. When I was writing this, I wanted to use the word pod, but that seems weirdly sci-fi. You know, like a chamber, right? Like a rectangular chamber tipped on its end.
How big?
You can see out of that. And it's a room with very harsh light, kind of neon strip lighting, blank walls, anonymous kind of grey vinyl floor, door on one side. There are 4 other similar kind of glass chambers around the room. They contain your coterie mates and someone who, after you kind of blink and kind of focus and take them in, seems to be Rose Abawi. There are also 2 individuals stood by the door. They are wearing kind of, like riot gear, like tactical combat armor, very big clunky helmets, and have what appear to... I'd describe the firearms more precisely, but you're Oscar Kane. They're holding guns.
Yeah, big guns.
Big guns.
Right. And so there are 4 in addition to my pod. So there's 5
Correct.
in total.
Yes, 5 in total, cool. Yeah. Your coterie mates and Rosa Bawi.
Rosa Bawi's in another one.
Mandrill appears to be awake and is the only one who appears to be awake. Although, as you are looking, Alex starts to stir.
I will sit up and look at the others and at the people with guns whilst clutching my chest. Does it appear to be a hole that might have been made by a stake?
Yeah, I mean, I could carry on asking for rolls, but yes, absolutely. It's directly over your heart. And yeah, it's a fair bet that you've been staked at some point. And given that someone has reached that realization, can we all take 5 points of superficial damage for me, please?
I imagine that's not halved.
No, because I think you have to receive 5 points of damage, actually receive the 5 points in order to be staked.
But that's before halving. So it can.
Oh, before halving, so it can be halved. Okay, in that case, it's rounded up, right? Damage.
Take 3.
Yeah, take 3 then. Take 3.
Oh,
if that takes you
so
over, if that superficial damage takes you over your track, obviously go back to the beginning and start putting in aggravated.
Awesome.
So I'm on 3 superficial damage.
If you were fresh as a daisy before going into this, yeah.
I'm resisting the urge to mend that damage because that could go wrong at Hunger 4 very quickly.
Yeah.
Yep.
3 superfish ain't so bad.
Alex,
What state are Rose and Arthur in? So I can see the other two up.
Rose seems to be slumbering still, and does not appear to have a hole in her chest. She is, however, she's wearing exactly the same clothes she was when you last saw her, and she does have a ragged hole in the front of like her quite fashionable sort of blouse that she was wearing.
Mandrill, Alex, are you okay?
I imagine all I can hear is a muffled.
No, you can. I mean, it is a bit muffled, but you can hear. Yeah, you can hear.
For now, although I suspect that may not last.
Yeah, I'm not answering Oscar.
Arthur?
I think the situation is obvious enough that everyone is not okay.
Yeah, but I'm freaking out. No response from Arthur. Can either of you see him?
Arthur, you hear someone saying your name.
I rub at my face, which probably occurs to me slightly before the gaping pain in my chest, as the blood is already probably flowing down my face.
Yes, of course, your kind of vitae stigmata.
Yep. Fuck.
Can we smell this?
What, the blood from Arthur's? No, I think these
That's good.
structures are getting in the way of that.
Is there? Sorry.
I was just going to say I'll like knock on the glass and see, does it seem like substantial?
Wonder whether to make. No, I don't think we need to make a roll for that. I mean, from within it, you can see kind of the kind of. There's quite a bit of distortion onto the outside. This is extremely thick. You know, I mean, it's probably not glass; it's probably plastic of some kind, or at least
like reinforced in some way.
Some kind of reinforced in some way. You would estimate that this, whatever it's made of, is maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches thick. It's very sturdy seeming.
Who's next? Who's on either side of Rose?
You know what? Let's say that the cubes or chambers, whatever we want to call them, chambers. Yeah, let's say they're like this, and I am Rose.
Okay.
Let's say that, and let's say the door is over between Oscar and Alex. How about that?
Okay. Then I will say, Oscar, could you see if she is with us?
Yeah, I'll sort of knock more loudly on the side and say, Rose, can you hear us?
You can see that she's kind of like starting to stir slowly, like one hand has lifted slightly and she's moving ahead, but she's still kind of rising from the slumber of the day.
What's the reaction from our guards?
Nothing.
Great.
Are they facing us or away from us?
They are facing the opposite wall, which is sort of near you and Mandrill, but they are staring, like their heads are not moving. They're looking directly forward. Also, the kind of faceplates, their helmets are very large and chunky, and the faceplates that they're wearing, they have obviously they're kind of like, a kind of oblong of glass or plastic or something there. It's so dark you can't see their eyes.
Smart. I'm
the other ones.
Checking my pockets, partly for a handkerchief, but also to see what I still have on me.
Every single thing that is not your clothing has been taken off you all.
Right.
Okay,
fantastic.
So no guns.
No, they did not leave you with guns.
I'm going to wave slightly at the guard and say, "Good evening. As you can see, we are all awake. Perhaps you could contact our host." Not expecting a response.
And you do not receive one.
Okay.
I am most upset with the standards of hospitality we are receiving from this place. We extended greater aid even to Mr. Mears. I say that loudly to make sure that if there are any cameras hearing, they can hear that I've said Mears' name.
Henry Mears lives.
Go and kill him.
I
what
start shooting at Alex a very severe look, and then sort of go, it's Miz.
what does the purpose of this room look to be? Is it merely a holding cell, or is it also any other things in this room that might give clues?
I mean, you can feel free to make a roll, and maybe if you get a spectacular one, I'll give you some info. But from just at a glance, it is bare and empty, and apart from these 5 chambers, those 2 guards, and a doorway. That's all that's in this room. It's extremely drab and functionless seeming.
How do these chambers work in terms of doors?
You'd have no idea from the inside how an entire person could be placed in one of these. But what you can tell now that you're coming to is it has, kind of like the exchange drawers you get in certain situations where you might want to keep someone behind a barrier or whatever. It seems to have like a double one of those. So in other words, someone has to drop one in at the front and then close it. And once they've closed it, you can open it. And so in other words, there's no way for you to.
But large enough for a thing, you wouldn't put a person in that way.
Absolutely not. Like, we're talking like 1.5 feet by 1.5 feet.
Like post office kind of size.
Exactly.
I've got quite a lot of materials knowledge. Is there any chance that I could try and work out what this is made of and what would be required to break it from my knowledge of materials?
I think that's an absolutely fine roll for you to make. It'll probably be quite difficult, but I think you can absolutely make it. Why don't you give me it's going to be.
Maybe technology.
I was thinking technology. How about intelligence plus technology? Intelligence plus technology. And I won't set a target. I'll just, the information you'll get unless you roll real high is limited. That's all.
I should really do this on the app because otherwise I'm going to forget which one's my hunger die. Oh, I'll just remember. These are my hunger die.
Roll them first.
All of them.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, like Neill says, roll them first. And then
I got 1, 2, 3 successes. 4 successes. 4 successes, sorry.
I don't think that's enough to know kind of the exact parameters of what this is. Sure. You suspect that it's a relatively technologically advanced form of thick,
bulletproof glass,
plastic or glass. You definitely never worked with anything like it. Like it's very fancy.
Not even in my architectural studies.
No way. This isn't the kind of thing you need.
Sure. You don't know what I need.
It's probably what you can tell. It's probably extremely expensive.
Yeah. Oh, good. when we break it,
really well made.
Cool.
Okay.
Is Rose coming to any more?
She is. She's kind of sitting up slowly. She opens her eyes and sort of looks around her and says, "Oh, what awful circumstance."
Yes, we had hoped that we might be able to rescue you at some point, but this was not as we envisaged it.
We must have hope and faith. As she says that, the door to the chamber opens, the room, not the chamber she's in, and as it does so, she kind of glances up with a sort of beatific expression of hope on her face, which dies as the person who opens the door enters, and obviously isn't who she was hoping to see. The person who enters is the man who you saw behind kind of the bulletproof glass in the basement before Gisang played with your minds or reality or whatever it was that he did. Just to remind you, he is a tall and powerful looking Sikh man in his maybe kind of late middle years. He wears a turban and a long, very, very well groomed beard. He's wearing what looks like a a very nice but not showy suit, which has some kind of an identification card pinned to the lapel, one without a photograph or any name, just a kind of like scan code, like a QR code. He's visibly armed with a large pistol on one hip and a curved. I looked up the name of them today as well. Like a Sikh blade. On no, it's not a kukri. That's it does begin with K though. Let me just have a look. You know the ones I mean, though, don't you? The curved kind of religious kirpan is what it's called. Blade on one hip, and obviously, like your characters have seen lots of Sikh people before, and usually the blade is ceremonial. This one is of a size where it's probably not. It is kind of almost machete sized on his hip. He is holding a plastic hoop, and hanging off the plastic hoop are 5 large bags of blood.
Right.
Well, you have my attention.
Feeding.
He kind of moves round the group, and he'll probably call in Alex first. And walking up to the chamber you're in, he kind of walks up to you, and he does kind of look you up and down, and clearly takes a moment to kind of take you in, examine the state of you for whatever reason he might have. Are you going to interact with him in any way?
I am going to turn presence on and just smile at him beautifully. Good evening. Would you be our host?
He stares at you for a few moments more, reaches the drawer, opens it, pulls one of the blood bags off the hoop, drops it in, closes it, and kind of watches.
You are too kind.
Are you going to take the blood bag, or kind of waiting for him to move on?
I'm waiting for a second to see if he moves on to the others first. But if it turns into a standoff, I will reach in eventually, obviously.
Sure. What? How long do you think you'd leave it?
5-10 seconds. Before...
Okay.
Long enough to
He'll last
start
that long. Obviously, you're a hunger force, so it's not.
Exactly.
Yeah. He definitely outlasts you.
Then I'll reach in and say, "Well, thank you for the meal this evening. I hope that next evening we may have more pleasant conversation."
The blood bag he's given you, it's not a standard medical blood bag. It's effectively seems like you would say it's a double. It's basically like a big carrier, almost like a carrier bag's worth of blood. It's like, for mechanical purposes, it's a double dose, so you can relieve 2 hunger with it.
Okay, I will just say, "Please excuse me," and I will turn around from him and start drinking.
A bit of modesty. He steps over to Mandrill and stares at you for a second. Sorry, Neill, go ahead.
Do I need to make a hunger frenzy check?
I mean, it could just get quite prolonged if we all make those.
Does the effects of the hunger frenzy matter even if you fail? Like, are you going to be thrashing around inside a glass box? I'll start thrashing around inside the box until.
Well, you know what? Hell with it. That could add to the atmosphere of the scene, right? So, let's go for it. So it's a willpower. Is it a willpower roll or willpower divided by a certain amount?
It's remaining willpower plus humanity divided by 3 rounded down.
Oh my goodness!
So in my case, it's 9 dice, fortunately,
Sure.
And it's difficulty 3 for tasting, which I have passed.
Cool. So yeah, after everyone drinks, remaining willpower plus humanity divided by 3, and your target is 3. So people who aren't immediately being confronted by this man, maybe prep your pools, assuming everyone's going to try and drink. Mandrill, he steps to your chamber and again gazes at you.
Cool.
He seems not to be taken aback by your appearance.
Fantastic.
Your headscarf is gone.
Fine. I'm fine with this.
Are you kind of interacting with him in any way, or just kind of facing him?
If there's ever a point where his hands are in the drawers, I intend to yank the drawer towards me as fast as possible, such that I might try and injure him. Because I don't like this person.
Okay. It's the way it's structured. If you yank the drawer, all you're doing is taking your side of it off.
Okay, so there's not a point, like, because if it's not on a hinge or something, so I could try and trap his hands in or something.
I will admit I haven't planned out exactly how it works in my head, but it's basically a system where he drops something in and then closes it, and that opens something to slip down,
fine.
And then you can,
If it's not to be, it's not to be.
Yeah, they've thought this through. So
damn it.
Yeah, but good notion. But you're not kind of saying anything to him or interacting with him in any way.
I have not.
Just
I mean,
for your blood.
If I could have pretended to be asleep from the start, I would have done.
Sure. Well, then he stares at you for a good 30 seconds or so, and then slides the blood bag in, works the mechanism. It comes down to you for you to take if you want.
Yeah, I guess I'll take it.
Sure.
I mean, I definitely will take it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, why don't you give me that frenzy roll, please? Neill's handily put the formula for it in chat.
I got 3 successes.
Exactly what you need. So you are fine. As I say, it's 2 hunger you can get rid of with that. Arthur, he steps round to your chamber.
I kind of square up to him through the glass and say, "Are we having any more visitors tonight, or is it just you?"
He sort of cocks his head as if, thinking that's... Your question seems to have piqued his interest to a certain degree. And then he opens the drawer and just puts the blood bag in and closes it. And remains watching you.
I make a snide comment about never talking to the wait staff and take the blood.
Okay. I didn't mention it with Mandrill, but as I, he does watch as you start to drink. Make that frenzy roll.
Does it include my hunger dice, or is it all?
No, willpower rolls never include hunger.
That is 4 successes, so pass.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, this is not your feeding preference. Remind me again how that works in V5, John.
I need to spend willpower equal to my Bane severity, which in my case is 2.
Okay.
In order to keep it down, otherwise it comes back up.
Cool. So go ahead and do that then, I guess.
Great.
He then steps over to Oscar's chamber and stares at you, Oscar. Are you going to interact with this man in any way?
I'm going to try and pretend like I'm desperate. Well, I am desperately hungry, so it's not really pretending. But I'm going to sort of be like, like really kind of like egging the jitteriness that I'm having. And my intended plan is I'm going to, like, when he drops the thing in, I'm going to like reach my head into the like drawer as far as I can, and pretend like I'm just so keen on getting the blood. My intention is just to see.
Just so you know, the drawer is like it's not wide enough for a head. You have to reach down into it, but
I'm not trying to get my head I'm not trying to. I'm literally trying to place my head so that I can see if I can catch a whiff of what this guy smells like.
Interesting.
Come here. Gosh,
interesting. Okay. So I'm going to make the how difficult is your kind of blood smelling discipline usually?
Yeah. So I can smell the resonance. It's normally difficulty 3.
Okay.
Increase difficulty for perfume or distance, and I lower it for more intimate contact.
I'm going to raise it by 2. 1 is for, obviously, you can't get a clear smell of him through this system.
Yeah.
The other is because you're huffing it while, and I know it's not maybe
there's blood. Yeah.
It is blood or plasma of some form also throwing you off from the blood bag, right? Especially with you as a bagger and used to smelling that fluid and
And
associated.
I'm probably also
with hunger.
really hungry.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. So go ahead and
Sure.
give me your roll at difficulty
So that's
5, please.
Difficulty 5. It's resolve plus awareness. I have very low chance of succeeding at this, but we must try. I failed.
Bestial
at
failure. No.
2 successes, but it wasn't a bestial failure
Not
or anything
bestial
like
failure.
that.
That's okay. Yeah, you can't. There's too much going on. You can't smell a man.
I will at that point take out the bag and like lose the sort of like facade or whatever, and I will ask him, "What will you do if I don't drink this?"
He looks kind of down at the bag and up at you, and nothing. As in, he says nothing.
How many times have I been here before? How many times have we been doing this?
I have to ask if you're trying to confuse him, because I'm confused by the question.
Sure. I'm under the impression that my head has been messed with tremendously. So I'm
Right.
like,
Okay.
I have
So
no
you think
idea
you
if
might
this is
have
the
been
first
in and
time
out
I've
and
woken
in and
up.
out and in and out.
Yeah. Like my general impression of this situation is that given that Rose is here, like they are like feeding us and then staking us and then feeding us and then staking us and like maintaining us at like a bare minimum level.
Yeah, and this is the first time Oscar's been through torpor, or so yeah, you can a level of
I mean, it's okay if I'm confusing him because I am also confused.
He crinkles his brow slightly at that and says nothing.
Okay, that's really interesting that he crinkles his brow, and I will like bite off the top of the blood bag and drink it. And do I get any interesting tastes out of it or not?
No, it's like low, fairly. It's comparable actually to the blood packs you picked up from your heist in Jack's territory back in the day. It's very high quality sort of plasma mixed with blood. Neill has pointed out, in fact, your second torpor, because yes, you were in torpor. Although staking is a torpor-like state. Yeah, you were caught. Yeah, obviously, Vasilis left you in torpor,
place,
filling your chest with bullets. So yeah.
And I should probably do that hunger frenzy roll, which is 5 plus, I believe, 2, so that's 7 dice that I'm rolling at. I can't remember what the difficulty is.
It's
3.
4. It's 3. Sorry, it's 2 for smelling, 3 for tasting. It's really
5
easy to pass these.
It's a success. Yes.
It's really easy to pass these when you have high willpower and you're humane in it.
Yeah.
For now.
Not so much later. Did I say later? I meant for other vampires. Other evil vampires.
Will there be later?
So after you drink from the bags, he strides over to the guards, turns to them and says, if they put the bags back in the drawers, take them out, be careful while you do so. If they don't, it doesn't matter. And then he walks out of the door. Oh, sorry. And he also gave blood to Rosa Barwi. I completely glossed over that. But he does give blood to Rosa Barwi.
How does she accept it?
She accepts it in a manner which suggests that she is familiar with this.
Right.
She asked no questions of him, and he did not stare at her. He just kind of dumped it in her drawer and walked on to Oscar.
Having heard this, though, I will gently place the bag once I have drinking my fill into the drawer. And if a man comes over to get it, I will thank them.
I think they'll wait a bit to see if anyone else does it first, because why walk
I would also
over the room several times?
Dump it into the drawer.
So will I.
The bag is my only tool that I currently possess, and so therefore I'm holding on to it.
Yes,
that's fair.
Makes sense.
After maybe half an hour of later, one of the guards does a little walk round. Rose has also put hers in the drawer, and kind of collects them all. They don't look at you in any way as they come round. Obviously, if someone wants to interact with them or try something in any way, then let me know.
I will just be, as I said, same as I did before, or up, thanking them.
I think Arthur is in the same position I am, where he wants to try something but can't think of anything.
Sure.
So he's probably just going to loiter near the exchange bit and square up to them a bit.
Sure. Does anyone have? First off, let's ask this question of the group. For being able to tell things about a tactical combat helmet, what skill do you think covers that?
Technology.
Yeah, firearms could also do it.
I think firearms is the closest, but it's the closest you've got to a general modern
Oh,
fighting.
Oh, big noise there from someone.
Sorry, I think that was me.
But also technology could work. Maybe investigation if you stare at it.
Sure. Well, you know what? I'm willing to offer technology or firearms. So let's go with. And if someone, you only get a quick glance at it while they're kind of moving around. So if anyone wants to make a wits plus firearms or wits plus technology roll to have a look at this unusual thing they're wearing on their heads, then go ahead. If you don't think your character would do it, that's also cool.
I would not be staring at them with their heads. I'd be staring to see if they have any noticeable effect when they walk to or from me whilst I have presence up.
Sure. We'll get back to that. Does anyone want to make a roll?
I think I like, even though I'm not particularly good at firearms or any of these other things, I think I probably would be wondering about these guards if there's any particular weaknesses. So yeah, so that's 3 dice for me, and I'm hunger 2. So is there a particular difficulty? Sorry.
I think 3.
Okay. Bestial failure. I cannot willpower reroll it.
Exciting.
I think, as I was giving them a bit of an eye anyway, I think I will. I kind of want to see if there's a way to see their eyes to get a dominate off, but I will be having a look at the helmet. Sorry, was it wits and firearms or intelligence firearms?
Wits. It's wits.
Wits. Fantastic. 3 successes.
Okay, well then. That helmet they're wearing is incredibly bulky. Really weirdly, oddly bulky. You're not an expert enough in this kind of gear to know what that might mean in any way, but for what it's worth, it looks very uncomfortable.
Okay.
Oscar, this is a difficult one to set a bestial failure for. On a helmet detecting test. So, have you got any immediate notions what you think it might be? I mean, we could just default to Tremere compulsion or an appropriate compulsion, but
I could sort of be looking at them and then and then tapping on the glass, being like, "Hey, look over here," and then I'm hitting on the glass and being like, "Look over here! God damn it! Come over here! Tell me."
Maybe get a bit angry, get a bit. How about as a further on that? Because obviously we've got to have some kind of well, don't have to, I guess, but you typically would have a kind of mechanical effect on that. Could we have Oscar not fall into a frenzy precisely, but certainly a frustrated bestial tantrum? Perhaps one that increases your hunger by 1. Something like that through the effort of just thrashing and losing control inside this chamber. How does that sound?
Sure. So I
back up to 3. Oh, God. Oscar is having a moment in his capsule, his chamber. So I believe, Arthur, you wanted to kind of think, you're just kind of pondering and thinking about how one might dominate through this incredibly dark faceplate and being able to lock eyes with them. I'm not entirely sure there is anything in the rules about that kind of thing. As always, Neill might know. Do you have to be aware of eye contact, Neill, to enforce dominate, or can you dominate through shades?
It's never explicitly said if you had to be aware of the eye contact, but let me just double check about being able to see through shades. You certainly actually have to have eye contact rather than some big intermediary, but it just.
Because I know in older editions, a lot of people were like, "I'm wearing shades, so no one can dominate me," which was, no.
I think it's mainly about gaze and eyesight.
Yeah.
So eye shut and blindfolds are excluded, but other things aren't. So I think glasses count.
Yeah, I think you could dominate through glasses, through like just a.
You just have to know when they're looking at you.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, exactly. Alex, you know what? Give me a resolve plus presence roll. Yeah.
How many successes? I have 3.
Let's say, what level are you using? Let's add 1 to that
1.
and set it. Then difficulty 2.
Then 3 successes.
When you say something with your kind of presence aura activated, the individual definitely kind of like almost kind of twitches their head to kind of move and look at you, but then consciously restrains themselves and moves back. The impression you get, it has an effect, but they have been trained to be aware that this is a possibility.
That's fine as long as they're not immune.
Doesn't mean amount of work, but more difficult, certainly.
Yep.
So, if you want to have any conversation or interact with each other, go ahead. Because time is a considerable amount of time is now going to pass. But if you guys want to use that time in any way, go ahead. It's fine if you don't.
So at least for a short amount of time, I'm just going to be pacing up and down, kind of like just like frustrated.
Pacing. Is there room to pace? I kind of get the feeling this is
You're muted.
But I kind of get the feeling that this is like a glass coffin that is just sat upright. Is that really what's happening?
It's bigger than that. Literally, the only thing I can think to compare it to is a thing only wrestling nerds will get. It is, I would say, it's about 2 or 3 paces across.
Sure.
So
okay,
you
well,
can pace, but it will be frequent
Yeah.
turns, you know?
Like,
And
It's a
just
broom
question.
closet.
There's enough to like rock back and forth angrily, I guess.
Are the guards able to walk completely 360 degrees around the coffin,
No.
or is it embedded into the wall or something?
It's not embedded into the wall, but it is flush against the wall.
So there are 3 sides that are glass.
No, there are 4 sides, but one of those sides is flush against the wall.
Cool. Mandrill is planning to spend the foreseeable future being completely silent and pretending to be asleep for as much as possible, even if that is days. However, once they've accumulated enough bags, they might try and do something with them. So if a considerable amount of time is going to pass, then
once
if
they
that
can
involves,
use the power of bags to...
I have ideas.
Sure.
I might try and heal some of my damage that I've taken.
Yeah, go for it. If anyone wants to use any of that precious blood to heal.
I think I am going to actually, before I do that, I'm going to use my ability, which is Blood of Potency, which is a rouse check, because I think increasing my blood potency makes my healing more efficient.
It does.
Be aware that if you fail the rouse check for this and the rouse check for healing, you'll be on hunger 5.
I think is it a risk I want to take?
Well,
I guess I'll know.
Yes.
The thing is, if you fail this, you can heal 2 for 1 rouse check. But if you don't do this, you can heal 2 for 2 rouse checks. So you're making 2 rouse checks to heal 2 damage either way. It's more about if you intend to do more in the rest of the scene with that higher blood potency.
Well, I think higher blood potency can help in other ways, and so I'm going to go for that approach. So I'm going to do my first rouse check, which is a success, so I don't actually increase my hunger. but my blood potency goes up by 1,
Mhm.
and then I get to do these
To
heal
rouse to
checks,
heal. Yep.
which I believe is I roll 2 dice for that, right? Because I've done that rouse check. Because I've got 2 blood potency.
Do you have to roll for it? Isn't it just a rouse check?
Oh, it might just be a rouse
Like
check.
another rouse check?
For blood of potency.
Uh,
No,
You need to make
he's
a
already. Do you have to? Oh, you have to roll to do
Roll.
blood of potency.
Because
Okay.
you might get
Yeah.
a crit and gain 2 blood.
Ooh.
yeah, resolve plus blood sorcery. So that is 3 plus 3. So that is 6 dice. At hunger 3. And I believe
What's the difficulty on it?
Difficulty of 2 plus my blood potency, which was initially 1, so that's 3. I got a success, but I'm going to do a willpower reroll because I would like to see if I can get a crit, but I do not, but it's just a success. So I increased my blood potency by 1. And
And now
Cool.
heal.
So now
And
you
now I
can
can-
do a rouse check to heal 2 points of superficial damage.
okay,
Oh, I healed 1 point of superficial, but failed my rouse check.
I failed that rouse check, so now I'm on hunger 4 again, but I'm
Mhm.
healing.
But you are healing. Is anyone else going to try and heal? Fair enough. Yeah, Arthur and Alex, are you doing anything as the time goes past? I suspect, Alex, you might be keeping an eye on Rose, who is
I
sat
am.
quite calmly in her cubicle. Just sort of, she looks solemn and kind of slightly upset, but still has a kind of air of serene hope around her.
The other thing I'll be doing is if I turn heightened sensors on, is the bright light shining on us too bright?
It'll be uncomfortable, but it's certainly tolerable.
Then I'll put heightened sensors on and basically look like I'm meditating. I'm just trying to tell if anything changes, which we could use to our advantage.
Sure. It quickly becomes apparent when you put your heightened senses on. You think the walls and the door of this place are probably, either very thick or intentionally muffled, or baffled would be the word actually in some way, because you're hearing almost nothing from outside the confines of this room.
I figured.
If I might actually try and talk to Rose a little bit.
Go ahead.
Rose, what have they done to you here?
She glances over at you and says, "Nothing, really. They have fed me. They have asked me some questions, but not too many. But I have chosen to comply in meaningless ways. Everything that happens here is a chance for me to deliver experiences and information. I will not pass that up by wasting my unlife on some foolish escape attempt."
Sure. And do you have any idea what they do when are they staking us? Is that what they're? What?
When they brought you into this chamber, you were all staked, yes.
And they've done that to you, or do they keep doing this, or was just when you were brought in?
Just when I was brought in. I too went through that ignominy.
Why are they keeping us?
I do not know, Mr. Kane.
Thank you for your help. And I sort of try and suppress my frustration.
Sure. So, time. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think I am not necessarily trying to move them towards action, but I am trying to converse with the guards at the door, which may sort of vary between whatever the vampire version of "I want to speak to my lawyer, I want to see your manager" is,
Mhm.
but also sort of "Hey, look at me, look at me."
You are
That's good.
being a
ignoring
vampiric
me.
Karen.
Yes. That is how I think of Arthur.
I
Yeah,
must speak
sure.
to the manager.
Sure. I mean, are you doing anything to kind of increase your chances in this in any way? Or
I'm
are you
throwing
just
presents on.
being annoying, essentially?
I'm being annoying and turning presents on.
Okay. Why don't you make me a manipulation plus persuasion roll. Obviously, take whatever your bonuses you get for presence from this, and I would like you to make that at a difficulty, John. What would the usual resistance be to that?
It would normally be
I mean, I'm just assuming they're social stat block.
composure plus intelligence.
Right. Oh, okay, sure.
That's only for resisting the effect of presence, not for
That's
resisting
For
being annoyed
sure.
in general.
Sure. Well, I mean, I think it's still a roll to be made with some resistance, so I'll pile it together in a certain sense. That's going to be a difficulty of that's going to be a difficulty of 6.
Ooh. I'm rolling 8 dice, so that's pretty touch and go.
100% success rate.
I think blood is too valuable at the moment to do a blood surge, so I'm just going to give it a try.
If I notice Arthur trying to do this, can I in any way sort of help by trying to play along with the thing? Yeah, you should talk to Arthur. You should, or not really.
I kind of struggle to imagine how you might do that. But
okay.
go talk to him. Yeah, go talk to my friend. If anything, I feel like that would be a detriment, especially after you just threw a blood-fueled paddy in your chamber.
Yeah. Okay.
That is only 4 successes, sadly.
One of them's head definitely kind of like looks over at you for a moment and then snaps back.
Okay. That's still useful.
Okay. Is there anything else anyone wants to try or do before we move time forward a bit? Okay. In that case, can everyone make me a rouse check, please? Because day passes.
Pass.
Me on hunger
Pass.
4. Fail. Which puts me on hunger 5. A lovely place to be.
Somebody get this man some blood.
Sure. Well, luckily for you, very shortly after you all awaken, the same man comes in with the same kind of plastic loop with blood bags hanging off it and distributes them in exactly the same way. So anyone on hunger 4 or above obviously will need that frenzy roll again. Is that kind of further exacerbated by being on hunger 5 as opposed to 4?
No, it's the same.
So I think that's just Oscar right now. And obviously everyone else can slake their hunger to a minimum of 1 with 2 points. Go ahead. Sorry, Neill.
I was going to ask, can I, because there's worth 2 in the bag, my plan is to slake 1, try to mend, and then basically try and stay at hunger 1, but mending as much as I can.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I was basically doing the same, yeah.
I mean, clearly Rose has done something similar, right? Because she no longer has the hole underneath her chest. Yeah, absolutely. Feel free to drink 1 and then heal and then maybe drink another if it's... you suspect that if your rouse check succeeds, for your healing, i.e. if you can't drink and gain more sustenance from it, you don't think you want to drink what's in this bag after it's been out of
Yeah, that's what I figured.
cool storage for 24 hours, but you can just dump it in the drawer, right? Oscar, how did that hunger frenzy go?
Sorry, I just need to roll 7 dice. Oh God! So it's a beast.
Oscar's having a really bad
So I got
time.
2 successes on it, and I can only I could re-roll 2 of these.
Can you spend willpower on a willpower roll?
No.
Okay.
Cannot spend
Well then,
reroll and willpower.
I got 2 successes, but it's a bestial failure. I like all.
Okay. Okay. So obviously we have to agree on this, but if you feel comfortable with it, I think you're tearing that blood bag out of the drawer and just ripping it open with your teeth and just slathering it down your throat desperately, kind of gulping it down. And I'm happy with the kind of mechanical problem of that being that you only consume 1 blood point because the rest of it
just is all over me.
Is all over you. And soaking into, well, not soaking in because the base is also this plastic material, but just like a thin film of it on the floor of your chamber by now.
Yeah,
in my eyes.
And I sort of like kind of desperately try and lick off my clothes and get down on all fours and try and But
so you're at hunger 4.
Yep.
As you kind of slowly work your way out of this, the other 3 of you, are you doing or saying anything as this is happening, or just kind
Doesn't seem worth it.
Watching in distaste?
Just so you know,
go ahead.
I'm up to hunger 2, and I'm down to 1 superficial damage.
Sure.
So I did all my rousers for healing, went down to up to hunger 3, and I'm now faced with a question as to whether I can bring myself to eat this filth again.
Sure. Sorry, can we finish with Oscar first? Sorry, I was asking about Oscar's situation. I don't want to move on to someone else. So if no one else is doing anything about it, Oscar, as you kind of come out of this kind of state of being and kind of become more aware of the world around you, the man is leant over at your cubicle, kind of calmly and dispassionately watching, observing you.
Don't look at me, and I just slam my fist on the door, not the door, the metal bit.
Sure. He turns to one of the guards and kind of sort of gestures with the plastic hoop in the air and passes it to them. They open the door and go out with it, and he stays there, kind of crosses his arms, just watching you in the chamber. Arthur, what were you saying? Sorry.
I was saying I've done my healing, and I'm now not actually sure if I can bring myself to eat this for another night.
You're running out of willpower.
Yeah, I only have 2 willpower left, and I'd need to spend them in order to eat this.
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. I just thought you'd want to know.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're visibly disgusted and not trying to eat your thing, I think I'll sort of shout at the man you're starving us. Don't you see us starving us?
The man kind of did you say you kind of looked over at Arthur before you said that? He turns and looks at Arthur and just kind of watches. What are you visibly having some kind of effect in any way?
Yeah.
Any behavior from your distaste?
I think I have the blood bag clutched in both hands, sort of held to my face, and it's just with this look of
He takes a couple of paces over to your chamber and stands up quite close to the surface of the plastic and says, "What do you need?"
I'm sure you do.
Law enforcement?
Yes.
Is that what you need? I thought you needed legal
Well,
professionals.
legal professional, but law
That's not the
enforcement.
same as law enforcement. Would you count policemen?
Yes.
I thought yours was like lawyers and judges and stuff like that.
I count it as anyone who works pertaining to the law. And
Okay,
I just
that's
gravitated
fine.
towards lawyers because that's the social group I
Sure.
move in.
Absolutely, that's fine.
As I get older, that may get more specific. It will get more specific.
So you kind of confirm to him when he asks law enforcement.
Yes.
He kind of turns, kind of paces back over to Oscar and keeps on watching him. Very shortly after, maybe a minute later, the guard walks back in. He has the hoop again, and it has another blood bag hanging off it. The man who keeps feeding you detaches that, slides it into your drawer, Oscar.
I take it, kind of confused looking. How much longer are you keeping us?
No response.
Okay. Yeah, no. Okay, I drink the blood.
You drink the blood. Sure. As soon as you've done so, the man walks over to the guards, gives them exactly the same instructions as the night before. To the letter, says exactly, if they leave the bags, take them out, and walks out.
So did Arthur get any more blood?
Yeah, but he did drink. You did drink what you had, right? Just
no.
You've used your willpower to do it. Oh, you
No.
haven't. Okay,
no,
that's fine.
When he walked out, this is going to sound stupid, but he walked out through some kind of door, presumably. Was he just able to open it? Did he require a key card? Did the door open for him?
He just opened it.
Just opened it. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Just handle open.
Then I'm going to adopt the same position as yesterday.
Sure.
And same here. I'm accumulating a pile of bags on the floor.
Sure.
Okay.
I am also going to do much the same as yesterday. Kind of want to get any indication if these are the same guards or if it's a completely different pair.
Sure. I think you can make a roll for that, but it's going to be super difficult. I mean, you literally can't see any skin.
Yeah.
That's how much. But I guess people's frames are different, right? Yeah,
it's whether they react to me the same, I guess.
Sure, yeah. Like if they have the same mannerisms and so forth. I still think it's pretty damn difficult. So yeah, it's going to be an insight roll for sure. It's going to be a resolve plus insight roll. And I think that's going to be a 5 difficulty. I think that's reasonable.
I'm rolling 3 hunger dice and that's it. Let's go for it, guys.
Let's do it.
I believe in you.
You could have blood surged.
That blood is getting very, very precious.
I don't think that would have helped, especially as I've already rolled, and I don't think it would have helped. 1 success, bestial failure, as slightly expected.
Sure. Rather than, because I sense that obviously there's going to be a few bestial failures here, and I don't want to rack them all up together. But I mean, we could just go through a similar routine to Oscar. Or if you want, maybe Ventrue-associated compulsion, which I'm assuming is kind of it's a kind of domination-based one, right? Like a sort of
to convince someone to do something.
Yeah, you have to convince
someone.
Yeah.
Arrogance.
What are you feeling, John? What do you think Arthur would go through in this state of frustration?
I think the shouting and the glass banging that started as quite... It gradually becomes more and more nonsensical, devolving into just sort of, look at me. Look at me!
Mm-hmm. Yep. In that case, if it's similar to Oscar Wilde, let's go through the same mechanics, unless anyone wants to suggest anything else. So I think we can raise your hunger again. It seems apt with what you refusing to drink and stuff as well, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I think
eventually I will wipe the blood streaming down my face and just use it to smear down the glass.
Yeah, filthy boy. Justin?
I'm just curious to see whether they are reacting at all to non-visual auditory clues, such as maybe they might be, wearing earplugs or something.
I mean, I'd hope if they were non-visual auditory clues. But
do they look like do they respond to sounds that are not within what their visual? You know what I mean?
Sure.
It looks like I can hear things.
I think that. Sorry, Neill, is this relevant to? This is relevant to what we're saying. Yeah, go ahead then.
Lately, I have heightened senses on and have done since last night, so I've been able to
Sure.
hear anything coming through an earpiece. That would have also been interest.
Maybe
not all the way since last night, but I'll be putting it on intermittently so I don't blind.
Yeah, or at least like a buzz or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't think you can hear anything as if an earpiece is going off. Mandrill, I'm not going to make you roll for it. Are you kind of experimenting in any way, or like? I think it. You know what? I think it's easy to tell because Arthur is thrashing around wildly in his cubicle. Yes, they do respond to auditory cues.
Cool.
Kind of when it starts, one of them kind of like turns slightly to kind of look over and then snaps their head back as they go, oh no, don't do that.
Don't look at the bat.
So time passes, but not all through the night. A couple of hours later, one of the guards sort of reflexively holds their hand up to the side of their helmet and holds it a second. Alex, this is odd behavior if they don't have an earpiece. You cannot, however, hear any buzz or feedback or anything from that earpiece. You can make whatever conclusion you want from that. They kind of hold still for a second, look over at the other guard, and they kind of share a quick nod, and they sort of stand to each side of the door. About 30 seconds later, the door opens and in strides a man you are all too familiar with, dressed in what looks like quite an expensive European suit, a long kind of heavy winter overcoat, a tall, powerful man, graying buzz cut, neatly trimmed silvery grey beard, strong features. Isidore Gassang walks in to the center of the room and just kind of slowly paces or kind of turns on the spot in a circle, looking at you all. Rose stares at him kind of impassively. Is anyone saying or doing anything?
I have... the problem is I'm not sure. It's impossible to... there isn't any sort of obvious visual clue if a vampire gets more hungry unless they are reacting.
Unless their behavior... No. Well, I mean, with the exception of Arthur, it doesn't seem to be a standard thing, though. No, there are, behavioral cues and stuff, but no hard and fast. You're on hunger 3, so this is,
Some of my suspicion is that, Isidore is not a human because he's doing all sorts of weird magic stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of I'm wondering if he's one of us, if he's a vampire who's turned or if he's something like that, but I have no real way of figuring that out. I
mean, the only real, unless you have something like Sense of the Beast, which Mandrill does have, then really, if they weren't using Flush of Life or Blush of Life rather, that obviously would be an indication. If he is a vampire, he's using Blush of Life. Let's say that. I don't think there's any other real immediate way to tell. Perhaps an Auspex based aura reading. Can that still tell in V5? Yeah.
Doesn't sense the beast detect vampires at higher
That I
success?
Yeah,
did
it can
say
do,
that.
Apologies.
Well, might be worth switching that on.
Go for it.
In case.
Go for it.
I'm always, my kind of like pretense is to be asleep. But if someone is about to attack me, I'd like to know about it in advance.
What specifically does send? I think it basically said you detect vampires and lupines, right? Vampires.
It does on a crit, but most of the time, what it does is detect aggression levels.
Just aggression levels. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm keen to
Sure.
find out about now.
But it doesn't kind of detect. Does it specifically say vampires and lupines?
It says it can detect supernatural. I think it says supernatural beast or supernatural.
I definitely need the word.
I will find the exact word in.
Sure.
Meanwhile,
which is
It allows you to detect a creature with a supernatural beast on a critical. Otherwise, it detects aggression.
That's absolutely fine.
Also, is Sense the Unseen at all relevant? Just because it is like it can detect things like vampires using obfuscate, or someone using auspex, or a ghost is the examples that they give.
Sure. Give me a Sense the Unseen roll.
Or dormant blood sorcery spells.
Sure.
Give
me those rolls, fellas, and tell me if you succeed.
Yeah.
Whilst the others are doing that, I'm studying him as well, but I'm not supernaturally. I'm studying him to see how he is reacting to us. Is he glaring at us? Is he angry? Is he disgusted? Is he whatever?
Absolutely. Well, why don't you give me an opposed roll with his? And resistance in this is, I think, would be the same composure plus intelligence. Would that seem like a resistance to it, I suppose?
Sure.
So let's go with a difficulty of 5, and that's going to be,
Resolve
you have resolve plus insight. Yeah.
Okay, I rolled 4 dice, got 2 successes.
Okay. How many successes do you need for sensing? Is there a standard difficulty or just?
It's against the difficulty you choose, or you can make it like an opposed roll. But like, I assume you have a vague idea of how.
I do have a vague idea, and I think unfortunately that definitely falls below it. So you don't sense anything untowards about him. Justin, how did you get along with that sense of the beast roll?
I rolled 3 successes, which has to beat their composure plus subterfuge.
Okay, that definitely does not.
Fair enough.
So you don't get any indicator from him. Neill,
5 successes. Exactly.
You got your 5. Okay. The manner in which he's looking at you is over anything. There's a strong sense of professionalism to it. Calm observation with an undercurrent of curiosity or interest would be the best term. There appears to be little to no malice.
That's surprising.
Interesting.
He speaks. Are any of you at all interested in providing me with your names so we know how to address each other? He has a very odd accent.
Of course. I am Ash. It is a pleasure to meet your acquaintance.
Your man already knows me.
I believe he is not my man anymore.
Oh. Okay.
I'm assuming you were talking about Arshad.
No, I was him, but also the Sikh man who referred to me as Cain. I believe just earlier.
He did, didn't he? Yeah.
So I'm
Sure.
I don't know his name.
Sorry,
actually.
I thought you meant Arshad. Yeah. In that case, he nods and says, "Indeed, Mr. Cain. But I am afraid I do not have the pleasure of these others." Ash, he looks over at you, Arthur, with his eyebrows raised.
Christopher,
And at Mandrill?
Andrew is asleep on the bottom of their cage.
He kind of gives like a faint smile and kind of nods slightly. So, I would like to dispense with illusions of subterfuge and speak plainly. We are in something of a straightforward situation and power dynamic, I'm sure you would agree.
Yes.
Seems that way.
Of course.
We are aware of why you are here, or at least we believe we are aware. And we would like to know why now. And please, I am well aware of the chances of any response, let alone an honest one, from you. But I can assure you I will not ask you, and please do not provide this unasked for. I have to say this since you may not be aware. I am not going to ask you for any locations. Where others are, where you dwell, who the others are. We are perfectly aware of the results this provides. So if my question seems tangential, that is the case. Why now?
I take it you mean why have some returned to London?
Why has your society returned here to lay claim to a city lost? But why now?
Why not?
Yes, there seems to be a true mix of levels of knowledge of the current situation and this island. I would make you all roll, but by now it's probably quite apparent that English is not this man's first language. Could it be that you are genuinely unaware of the events outside London? Surely by now someone has said something. No? One of your landlords?
Why don't you tell us what you think we should know, and then we'll tell you if we know it?
That is not the power dynamic at play here, Christopher. I'm sure you respect that, yes, with your clan. We cannot agree on the pronunciation. Ventru? Vontru?
I
If
believe,
you cared to illuminate us?
I believe it is Venturi. But accents do vary, you see. In answer to your question, though, we are aware of many events in Britain and unaware of others. Just like humans, we are all just people. All of us know many different things.
Just like human, but not human anymore. No. He turns back to Arthur. How about a trading of information? Nothing valuable. You tell me how your name is pronounced, and I will tell you of my clan I left them a long time ago, Christopher. Nothing like yours. Obviously, I am not one of you.
Would you consider it a sidestep if I say we don't have a set pronunciation?
Then how do you pronounce it, Christopher?
Untrue.
Is that a European pronunciation?
As far as I'm aware.
Perhaps the one who fathered you is from Europe. Germany,
All you
maybe.
asked,
Or France.
all you asked
Switzerland.
for was the pronunciation.
That
If you
is
wanted
true.
a history lesson, that might be extra.
I flatter myself I likely know a great deal more of history than you. I have certainly experienced more of it.
You do seem quite old. I assume everyone else are the guards here.
Oh,
still?
yeah.
So yeah, and they're comfortable having you around.
Well, having... sorry, you saying
Yeah.
this?
I'm saying this to him, and they're comfortable having one of your sort around.
I'm afraid your manner of bluffing is very poor, Mr. Kane. You have genuinely no clue what I am or what I am capable of. You have been a member of this society for 2-3 months. Yes?
Oh,
Your knowledge must be somewhat limited, even with that lovely little shop.
I mean, it's been clear you've known about us a while. You don't have to rub it in.
Oh, I intend no showing off, no grandstanding. I simply wish to be honest and have the cards on the table.
Right. So, if you want to put cards on the table, why did you let us go?
You are very small fish. The thinking was perhaps you will lead us to the large ones. Perhaps you are worth simply observing. Our priorities have shifted since we first left London scoured nearly clean. And Miss Abawi here has not proved perhaps worth the risk we took to secure her. But here you are. Come to us. So clearly no mistake was made.
I guess only time will tell.
So you've been here a while then?
In London?
Yes.
Oh, I have been in London. I think I arrived here 1920? 1920. Yes. And I believe I owe you a pronunciation, Christopher. My clan, I am not sure what they call themselves now, in all honesty, but the last time I spoke to any of them was known as the Voltarian Order.
Am I supposed to recognize that, or?
No, but we did have a deal.
It's true. I respect a man that covers his debts. It just
Good.
seems so unfair that you seem to know so much about mine, and all I have is a name. What are you, Mr. Gasang?
I am a Prussian, Christopher. The blood of the Teutons flows in me. I was a member of my clan, and then came the War of Liberation, Christopher, and the Battle of the Nations. No one really remembers it now. It's odd what is remembered and taught from histories and what falls by the wayside of interest only to scholars and academics. The largest war in Europe, the largest battle in Europe before your First World War. No one talks of it. 500,000 soldiers, 2,200 artillery pieces, the expenditure of 200,000 rounds of artillery ammunitions, 127,000 casualties. Two among them, my final two living descendants, Christopher. And shortly after that, the business of my clan, it seemed to lose any relevance, any importance. And I found myself a new purpose. This waste of human life, this violence and carnage. Man is brutal, but there is an efficiency to this, you understand? There is planning, there is strategy behind all this. And I started to take an interest. And though my people are guilty of a certain amount of this ourselves, we are not the masters. Not like you. Your elders, your ancients. And as I searched through the high places of Europe, one name kept coming back and back and back. Mithras. A name from legend. A name scrawled on the walls of caves, carved on brick and sandstone and clay and metal, on swords and shields, spears and axes, halberds and guns, and artillery pieces. I gained a new purpose. So I came to London. And then others took my purpose away from me. So I simply found others who felt the same about your kind. And now I help them. And I thought we had achieved some success. And then that name again, creeping down, echoing, decades after his death. And you know what those voices said, Christopher? Whenever they said his name, they said, "Look to the north." You asked me what I am, Christopher. I have neither the time nor inclination to go into detail. I will tell you this. You are living a half-life, Christopher. 1 foot in slumber, 1 foot in a sense of what is real and what is truly happening in this world. I, Christopher, I am awake.
You sound like you're trying to convert me, Mr. Gasang.
There is no conversion for you.
Then what is to be done with us? Why are we still here?
The simple answer is because you have not attempted to escape. I do not advise that. Because information is required, information and knowledge of where you stand and where your elders stand, Christopher, because matters are no longer clear. You are not simply fodder for the bonfires anymore. It is more complex than that. This was a good talk. He turns and makes to walk out of the room. Is anyone going to say or do anything before he leaves the room?
I will ask. And is it allies you're looking for, Mr. Gasang?
Perhaps. Perhaps agents. Perhaps merely conscientious objectors. But as I say, things are more complex than they were. He opens the door and turns around, gestures towards Mandrel in her cubicle and says, "Your friend, she should have been in the theatre." Walks out and closes the door softly behind him. Neill has pointed out the submerged directive. No, I went back and checked exactly my wording. No one has contradicted. It is specifically about locations and of anyone on the mission and names and identities of anyone on the mission. None of
That's
that
why he wouldn't ask us about it.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's better just to say nothing at all. That's what I've done.
I went back and watched the scene with Helena and Oscar to make sure I didn't contradict it.
Sure.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh man. Right. So
I want to make it clear that Mandrel doesn't stop pretending to be asleep at any point unless they're feeding. Just even when they're even in our tete-a-tetes when everyone's out of the room kind of thing.
Sure. Absolutely.
I guess I'll ask the others. He sounds very old, but insists he's not like us. Do you know of others?
It's time to wheel out those occult rolls if you want, folks. You don't have to make one if you don't think you would have any. I mean, those of you familiar with the World of Darkness setting probably have their suspicions. It's up to you if you want to make it, and I will set the difficulty. If you want to figure something out, it's going to be an intelligence plus occult roll, and the difficulty is it's probably going to be pretty damn challenging unless you can argue me otherwise.
Just to know that there are things other than vampires.
Well, that's a good point. Let's set 2 difficulties. Let's set one difficulty at 4 and the other difficulty at honestly 7, because I can't imagine why your specific characters would
know about this.
There are things other than vampires, and maybe those things live longer than mortal lives.
We have already encountered ghosts.
You have, yeah.
I'm not entirely sure if Arthur
and zombies.
ended up actually believing it, but
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, Alex made the roll. Yeah, there are things other than vampires that may live longer than mortal lives, for sure.
Then I would just say, you have already encountered ghosts, Mr. Kane. Surely you did not think there were just us and ghosts.
Yeah. Do we? I guess he has no reason. He didn't seem dishonest, but he seemed very capable of hiding his true nature. I'm still not even ruling out that he's a traitor. But yeah, I don't like what he was able to do to our heads. I
imagine that he would say that it is some form of karma or recompense or suggestion of how we might treat mortals.
I'm not morally judging him. I'm just wondering, again, why they... Well, I suppose he's a convenient ally for now. Or perhaps they have no qualms with whatever kind he is.
Regardless, we are here in his hospitality for some more time, I suspect. So I think we should be gracious guests whilst we are here. And perhaps, given that the threat to the north has been mentioned to us many times, perhaps he may be an ally in these dark times.
perhaps.
I'm not so sure.
I just want something to eat that isn't bloody bag.
Would I be able to help you, Christopher? I would if I could. Sadly, it is not within my power.
Well, thank you, Ash. That is much appreciated.
You are muted.
You are muted.
Oh god. There is
That
also...
would be why that wasn't working. And 10 minutes later, if I call him the first man, the Sikh individual who's been feeding you, walks through the door. He doesn't have that plastic hoop, but he is holding somewhat, not tentatively, but gently and carefully holding a more regular-sized blood bag. He walks up to Arthur, or Arthur's, container, opens, slides it down.
I'll open my side and take it.
It's warm. He's watching you.
Well, that's more acceptable, I suppose. Bite into it. Hope it's my type.
It is
So
definitely your type. Can anyone... Was the last blood we determined the resonance of, was that blank or was it something else? Can we remember?
Mine was choleric.
Was it
no, you mean everyone's.
I thought it was fleeting was the last one.
Fleeting choleric. Yeah, cool. Okay. No, I'm just... that tells me where I am in my little rolled list. This is also fleeting choleric. You get the distinct impression it's absolutely someone involved in legal matters, and you get the impression that it's someone who enjoys their job, which involves the application of riot gear a little bit too much. And as I say, it is fleeting choleric, and it is 1 blood points. 1 hunger's worth of blood.
Fantastic.
Are you on hunger 4?
Yes.
Give me
Now on
that
3.
frenzy roll. Yeah, but give me that frenzy roll.
Which was willpower plus
current willpower plus
third of humanity rolled
third of
down.
humanity.
Which
rounded down or rounded up?
Rounded down.
Round down.
So you only get 3 dice if you have 9 humanity.
Okay, so I'm rolling 4 because of my willpower hit,
Lovely.
and 2 successes.
You 3 for
3, I
tasting.
think, don't you?
Ah,
Hunger frenzy time.
Hunger frenzy time.
You want it?
fantastic.
Is there any real mechanical result in this, Neil, or is it just it's a role play opportunity in this particular circumstance? Right, he ain't going anywhere.
It's not even a roleplay opportunity so much as Arthur just bangs repeatedly against the glass plastic wall for a long time.
Yeah.
I do that anyway, apparently.
Yeah, absolutely.
Game up, lad! Game up, lad!
The blood pulses through you. You feel your heart rouse from its kind of toporic state and start to beat again. It's all too much. The weight, the hunger overcomes you. Everything dissolves into a blur of a kind of red tinted reality. And when you eventually come out of it, you're kind of, lunglessly panting and hunched over in the corner of your cubicle. The man who feeds you impassively watching, curiously, bent over slightly to get a better look at you and your expression. And also, Cam blurry.
Glorious.
Ale fix, probably, maybe.
Probably, hopefully.
Um,
Do it.
Yeah, and obviously you gain 1 hunger, or reduce 1 hunger, rather.
As he's watching me and I regain sensibility, say, is that the reaction you wanted?
It is the reaction I expected. He stands up, walks straight out of the room.
that one's a bit of a scientist.
I don't like him.
You prefer him to our old companion?
At least our old companion talks.
To anyone who might be paying attention to the guards, one of them is again kind of holding up the hand to the side of the helmet.
I will attempt to use heightened sense to hear anything, even though I probably can't.
Don't. You know what? You don't hear anything right now, but they kind of share a look towards each other, and one of them opens the door and leaves, and they leave pretty quick. And as the door opens, give me a heightened senses roll. Well, you know what I mean, an awareness roll. And
May
it's
I
going
also
to
try?
be... Yeah, sure, go ahead. Anyone who wants to, who is paying attention. It is going, but before you roll, you may want me to tell you what the difficulty is to see if you want to make the roll. It's going to be a difficulty 6.
I still want to make the roll.
Any little piece of
I'm going to willpower.
Help.
6. Half a critical, but 6 with my 9 dice.
Anyone else with any spectacular successes or horrible bestial failures?
I did get a bestial failure.
Good.
But I imagine
good
that it fits with the Nosferatu.
The cryptophilia
or whatever it's
sort
called.
of thing. Yeah, I think so.
Must
Yeah, go
know.
ahead and apply your cryptophilia, your like anxiousness for
Yeah,
information. and
the
data.
first time Mandrill has stirred from the floor, apart from occasional
And
kicking,
couldn't-
is
Yeah,
kind of like to press up against the glass.
absolutely. What's the cryptophilia mechanics? Just so we are aware as the
believe
scene
I-
plays out.
Needs to, it's I probably have my character sheet somewhere.
It's -2 to all dice rolls that aren't towards discovering
Until I learn
the
a secret.
Until you've learned the secret.
Cool. What Alex hears is something that very much sounds like a distant and muted chatter of automatic gunfire.
Alex will not say anything, but Alex will subtly try to catch people's eyes,
Andrew, we're looking, yes.
including Manuel if looking, and try and make a kind of nod and look to the door and then a nod at each of you. doing it
And
as
the two
subtly as
guards are
possible.
still gone, right?
There is one guard left.
One guard left.
So I'm going to do it whilst as if quasi-pacing around the cell, but conveniently stopping to nod and look at the door and nod again.
And they are like,
Yeah.
they're clearly listening to something.
Distracted.
Mhm.
Oh, man. Is it possible to do a double presence roll on this person?
No,
Does that-
you can't combine uses of presence.
Okay.
Other than in maybe very specific circumstances
Like
that
if you
have been
were, like-
practiced for and developed.
Yeah, you're doing.
I
like
might
two-
try and I might, if Alex might know something about this, then Mandrill probably might ask Ash for more information, kind of hissing through the grate of the exchange door.
Sure, and you like the guard does seem distracted. Like you're fairly sure that if you communicate in a sort of a relatively
Softer
modest manner, that perhaps they won't really hear what you're saying.
If you try and make any kind of face at me, I'll just make a kind of.
Does that count as learning a secret?
No,
No, damn.
I don't
I
think
mean,
so.
it was secret for me.
What I will do though is I will try to shout like to the guard. Excuse me, I believe that the host was discussing that we might be agents or allies of sorts. So perhaps if there is some form of problem, we could aid you to prove our dedication to the cause with presence on.
Sure.
I'm not expecting it to work.
No, I'm going to make this super hard because they're not even listening to you. But given that you're using presence, I'm going to let you make a roll at least, because who knows? You could surprisingly critical the hell out of this, right? So, can you remember what the difficulty was for your first roll against one of them?
I think it was 5.
Was it 5?
I think most of the rolls we were making against them were 5.
I think I set the difficulty at 3 and then I added. I think 5 sounds right. This is going to be 7.
Oh my god!
You don't have to make the roll if you don't like. If once I've said how hard it is,
no, I'm just gonna keep. I'm just gonna just gently say that to leave it as a seed for later. Then
sure, absolutely. As you're using like your again, their head tilts slightly towards you as if you're like a noise filtering through whatever they're listening to, and then they go back to it.
You know what? You only live.
Make
you
the
only
roll.
Live or die once.
Make the fucking roll. Let's do it.
Blood search.
Yeah, I'll
That's
blood
what's gonna
surge it.
happen.
Sure.
This is no manipulation plus persuasion seem relevant.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So I have 5, and I can re-roll.
How many dice can you re-roll?
I can re-roll 3 dice.
Ooh.
8 with a messy critical.
Oh yes.
Oof.
And I failed my
Loving
rouse
it.
check, so I'm now on hunger 3.
Oh, no.
Loving it.
Hunger 3, watch out.
Absolutely.
Danger zone.
So obviously, just looking at the sort of results you might get here, for the old messy critical, can you think of anything immediately, Neill? Nothing. It leaps out at me. Obviously, a few of them aren't on the table, like Masquerade breach. Stains don't feel like they're possible, but
I'm just going to look at the compulsions briefly. Illusion doesn't seem right, but it's possible that dominance might, which is basically they need to establish dominance or challenge authority and then gloat. But I'm not quite sure. So that otherwise I can't think of anything except from possibly the willpower damage from desperately trying to get my way out of this plastic cage and not working.
Sure.
My name is Alex Taylor Brown, and you will do what I say.
Sure. So the sensibility was you were trying to convince this guard that you were allies, you were in a potential conflict.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. The guard kind of drops their hand and looks over to you and kind of you can hear a man's voice from behind it, and it's distorted in some way. There's some kind of vocal distortion effect within this helmet, and he says, "Are you not with them?"
I will just say, as our host graciously said, there are many of us. We are just like you are not allies with Russians or necessarily allies with Russians. We are not necessarily allies with all of our kind.
You can sense a sense of confusion, although you can't see him in any way. He holds the door open a second and is glancing out at it, and you all hear bursts of automatic gunfire happening in kind of the near distance. He kind of turns around back to you and says, I don't know. I think they're struggling. He kind of takes out of his pocket what seems like a kind of key card.
They need all the help they can get.
I will turn off heightened senses just in case the gunfire gets closer and just say, by all means, we can assist you. And if nothing else, if the worst happens and we are lying and we are not on your side, you have at least allowed yourself not to be killed brutally by demonstrating that you have saved us. I'm sure a peace could be brokered so that you and any survivors would not be harmed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not one of the idealists, you know. This is a good job. Like
we can help you.
You're here for a wage. It's understandable.
He takes a step towards your cubicle with the key card kind of clutched in one hand, and I think it's safe to say all of you. We won't make a roll. All of you with heightened senses hear an odd on the far side of the wall, on like the wall opposite the door. On the far side of that, you hear an odd kind of clunking, not bashing noise, but kind of a noise on the other side of that wall. And he kind of stops at that and almost kind of shakes his head to clear it of some fog that someone may have placed in it in some way. Glances over at the wall, and the wall. I'm not going to make an explosion noise because you don't perceive an explosion noise. You just perceive a flash of incredibly bright light. The wall bursting inwards and masonry, stone and brick collapsing and flying through the room, cracking open the door on the opposite side. The guard is a wrecked form strewn in the rubble, and smoke and dust and a kind of faint yellow light pours through the gap that was there. Arthur and Mandrel, can you both give me
Whispers Resolve?
No. I want basically, although you're in these cubicles, like there'll be a concussion element to this, right? And you're right next to it. So let's go with I don't know, stamina plus. You know what? Dexterity plus stamina, I think, is a decent roll for this.
Okay.
And basically, yeah, tell me how many successes you got, and I will tell you how much damage you've taken.
Three successes.
Same here.
Okay.
With
in that case, only both of you only take one superficial damage. But the kind of concussion of it knocks you hard against the side of the cubicle, and it's up to you whether you kind of drop, kind of are knocked over, or whether you're just kind of like holding yourself up against it. Alex and Oscar, you both feel it, but it's not enough to kind of like knock you back. Clearly, the distance helps. Is anyone going to react immediately before a follow-up thing happens?
I'm going to say, quickly, let us out.
Are you saying that to presumably whoever's on the other side of the wall?
Oh, no.
Rather than the guard?
The guard was killed.
Oh, the guards.
The guard's definitely dead.
If they're not dead, they're doing a very good impression of it.
No, I won't say that.
Are the tubes still intact, or have they been damaged
They
by
are
the blast?
absolutely intact.
Oh God.
Cool.
And then 3 figures come striding out of the smoke. Striding strong. One of them striding.
Merging.
One of them is lurching. And one of them is pacing a bit more of a measured pace. These 3 individuals, you recognize 2 of them. One is Chuck. One
Nice.
is Arshad.
Double
And the
nice.
other, a woman you do not know. A woman who is clearly kindred. She is not using the blush of life. She is obviously very pale, tall, statuesque, very beautiful woman with softly curled dark hair. She's wearing a very battered leather jacket, leather trousers, and kind of a dark t-shirt, all of which have tears and rents in them. Some of them are smoking slightly and are perhaps from the explosion, and others have clearly been in there quite a long time. She walks through with kind of slow, measured grace. Mandrel, Chuck is kind of peering around. He looks over at your case and he says, "Thank God, we picked the woman grabs him by the back of the neck, grabs Arshad by the back of the neck, and slams them both together with terrifying force.
Oh,
They
God.
both collapse on the ground. You think they're alive.
Cool.
The woman looks around calmly at all of you, and then her eyes rest on Rose, and Rose goes, "Mother," and presses her hand up against the plastic of her cubicle. The woman strides over to her and nods and says, "It is finally time. Time to come home, Rose." She reaches kind of into her pack that she has slung at her side, and Rose goes, "Oh, Mother, a key card," and points at the guard on the floor. While this is occurring, I don't want to just, railroad this scene. What's everyone doing?
I was going to point at the key card, but that's too late now.
Yeah, go on.
Go for it.
I want to sense the based on this person to see if they have the intention to commit harm to anyone in this room.
Sure, go. I think that's a fair roll, given what's just happened. Yeah, go ahead and do that. While Justin makes that roll, Oscar and Arthur, any reactions?
Once they do their emotional greeting, I tap on the glass and say, "You are here for the rest of us as well, aren't you?"
She's ignoring you.
I think my initial gut reaction when she smacked, I will have called out Arshad as
Sure.
she put her hands on his neck, and then I'm like, and I think I'm kind of freaking out a little bit about that because I don't know what to do. So I'm,
just sort of.
What did you do?
Absolutely. Alex, we skipped over the keycard thing. Is there any other reaction that Alex is having?
I would ask, are you going home to the north by any chance?
She turns and looks at you in this, looks a little quizzical, looks back to Rose, who says, "Yes, they are one of us. They are one of us. Another was found here in this barren land." The woman smiles slightly and turns to consider Alex again. Mandrel, how did that sense the beast roll go?
3 successes.
Is that considered
against composure versus subterfuge? Composure plus subterfuge.
No.
Yeah.
No,
Your character's never
I'm
seemed to very low composure.
You're doing it on characters that have a very respectable level of that, I'm afraid. The woman smiles, leans down, grabs the key card, kind of flips it over in her fingers a few times, walks to Rose's cubicle, looks around to find some kind of sensor or something, seems to find something kind of near the base of the cubicles, taps it, the entire front of the cubicle swings open. Rose steps out, embraces the woman, and says, "Mother, we can trust them. We can trust them." She nods, walks over to Alex's cubicle, taps. The door swings open.
You are most kind. Our host has been difficult. I will step out and wait to see what she does with the key card.
She kind of first softly lifts her hand and just runs the back of it down the side of your face and says, "Beautiful child, you may come with us. I am Blake."
I would like to use a premonition.
Go for it.
I don't like this person very much.
Passed my hunger check, arouse check, and 4 successes.
Okay, that is enough, correct?
Well, there's no set. I think
It's just the level of yeah, sure. With 4, I'd say you don't have kind of a vision in the same manner you've had before. What you have is an overwhelming wave of promise, and something is coming. What you're waiting for is coming to you, and it's all tied to this woman here. You have a very strong gut instinct that she can take you to him. Blake takes a step back, looks around at everyone in the cubicles, smiles so softly and caringly at you all, drops the keycard to the floor. Turns, places one arm around Alex's shoulders, one arm around Rose's. Alex, I assume you're happy with this?
I am banging on the glass, shouting. Am I shouting Alex or Ash? I think
in
I
this
start
moment,
with
I
Ash.
think Alex, maybe? I don't know.
I think I start with... No, yeah. I start with Ash, if that gets no response. Alex.
I will just say that we should probably not leave them here. I sense they are important. Will others be along shortly?
She again kind of brushes aside of your face and says, "Oh, sweet child. Others will be along to care for them. There is no need to worry."
Excellent.
Whatever level of presence you feel is necessary for you to sway you on this.
Oh no, that's
in
fine.
play.
That's already convincing. I'll just turn to them and say, "I will return for you when the time is right. I wish you all well." And then go.
Blake, with her arms around Rose and Alex, strides off through the smoke, through that soft yellow light and the dust hanging in the air, and away, leaving you all firmly still imprisoned. And that is the conclusion of our first big story arc of London Ascendant. I hope that was good. That was definitely a gamble on placing the entire final episode of you locked in plastic cages, but it paid off. I think that went well. I really enjoyed that, and I hope you guys did too. Thank you as usual to all the players. Thank you to Steve for being a great stream manager. Thank you to all of you for watching. I'll run through some promo stuff now, and if anyone has any comments or questions, pop them in the chat. If they're directed to me or the players or anything, or the storyline we're playing, anything, and Steve will pop them up on screen for us to discuss. But in the meantime, a bit of promo. Down below, there's a load of links. YouTube and Twitch. You're watching on one, why not check out the other? We've got links to our social media, to our Discord, where you can join freely and chat to us about things. to our Patreon if you love what we do and you feel like supporting us and getting something in return as well, damn it. We run 3 ongoing weekly campaigns, or stream nights in any case, Monday through to Wednesday at 8 o'clock in the evening BST. Mondays is Call of Cthulhu. Tuesdays, this is usually Vampire, but we'll get on to why it's not Vampire for a while in a little bit and talk about that. And Wednesday nights is usually Simbaroom, although we have another finale tomorrow if you want to join us for that. We also have a fortnightly Simbaroom stream over on the Free League Publishing Twitch. They're the people who make Simbaroom. Isn't that exciting? The second episode of that is coming this Sunday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon BST. We've got a bunch of monthly one-shots we do. We do them on the first Saturday of every month. The VODs for those are over on our YouTube if you want to check them out. Alien, Merkborg, Fiasco, Troika. And we've got another one coming on the 5th of June, which will be Chris running the Expanse RPG. There we go. So a couple of sort of administrative things before we get on with any comments and questions we might have. First of all, a big thank you and a sad farewell, because part of the reason why Alex strode off through the dust there with Blake is because Neill is leaving the campaign. So thank you to him, and will be missed, as will, of course, Alex Taylor Brown. What we're doing with Vampire going forward, or with Tuesdays in general, we're having a break week next week because we've had this big finale here, and then we'll be coming back for an interim system, which won't be Vampire, but will in fact be the wonderful Blades in the Dark. And our 3 other Vampire regulars will be joining us for that. We'll be running that for a while. I'm not sure how long yet. With the nature of Blades in the Dark, they're kind of like a sequence of shorter stories. So we'll probably run maybe 2 or 3 of them along with it's got a kind of downtime mechanic as well, where your crew kind of politically wrangles and builds their base and all sorts of stuff like that. So we'll be starting with that in 2 weeks' time, which is, of course, the 1st of June. Blades in the Dark. Isn't that exciting? Yeah, I think that's all my administrative stuff, unless anyone can think of anything I've missed.
So we're going from Vampire, where we have fantastic adventures breaking into places, and then in our downtime, politically wrangle and build up a base. Blades in the Dark, where we have breaking in places.
Sure.
And political wranglings.
Clearly, I didn't think this through. But in Vampire, you're not operating in a blatant copy of Dunwall from Dishonored.
That's true.
So I say blatant copy. It was originally meant to be a Dishonored RPG, and then got adapted when they lost the license. Yes, that's right. Yes, that's right, John. I have no imagination.
No, it was sticking with the theme. I like it.
Clearly, we've all watched enough of these role plays to know I don't have any imagination. So there we go. Yeah. Cool. Steve, have we got any comments or questions, please? There we go. Lovely compliment. Thank you, Steve. Yeah, Neill was really good as Alex. And hey, maybe we'll see Alex again in one form or another. Just not on the regular. Yeah,
there's a glowing red orb coming towards us.
Absolutely, we got we got a new follower today. But you know what? I've seen that we've had a few followers this week. So you know what? I'll thank them all, because if I name all those names, it'll make it sound like we're more popular than we are. So thank you to our followers this week. Thank you to Gore Cannon. Thank you Ramon Archie. Thank you Noops AU, Binks, Eagleton, and Davy Jones Show. Thank you.
I love these names.
They were great names. They were great names.
Serious, mature viewers.
And a wonderful mix. I like any list that has Gore Cannon and Binks in. So there we go. Cool. If there's nothing else, then thank you again to everyone. Thank you to players. Thank you to Steve. Thank you to viewers. We hope you enjoyed this first story arc of London Ascendant. It should be back after Blades in the Dark. And remember, we're off next week on Tuesday. So you'll have to find some other way to entertain yourselves. God help you. Take care and stay safe out there. See you later.
Goodbye.